Greetings, beautiful people. So I'm making another weekly agenda. And this one, I'm going to go over a little bit about Chapter 8, which is group influence. I'll talk about ways to earn points this week. I'll also talk about Test 2. I'll remind you about course withdrawal. And finally, I'll finish up with talking about emotional intelligence. So this chapter is one of the chapters that I really encourage everyone to read because there's a wealth of information. The chapter 8, starts off with a quote that's attributed to anthropologist Margaret Mead. And she says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world." And if you let that sink in for a little bit, just think about it for a minute. So the power of group influence it's too much to talk about in the short little time that we have. But for the sake of time, we're going to just highlight these few 7 points. First, what is a group? So in everyday life, we talk about groups. We talk about collections of individuals as if they're a group. But in social psychology, there's a very specific definition. So in order to be considered a group, the two or more individuals have to interact. Okay, and they usually consider themselves an us or we. All right, so read a little bit more about this in the first part of the chapter. Then the Myers and Twenge start talking about social facilitation and social loafing. And social facilitations, the definition of social facilitation has changed over time, but the current definition is that basically when you are in the presence of other people, easy responses become even more easy and difficult responses become even more challenging or difficult. So this is saying that if you're really good at public speaking, then when you have a really big crowd, you're going to be even better. If you suck at solving math problems, when there's a lot of people taking a test at the same time as you, you might do even worse. And there's some explanations for why social facilitation happens. And you read this in the textbook, you'll find out all about it. Okay, social loafing is directly relevant to our class because you are currently working on a group project, and I know that some of you have experienced this where some of the members put forth less effort in the group than they would alone. And so social loafing happens all the time. There are ways to combat it. One of the reasons why I don't give every single member the same grade is because I'm trying to avoid or squash this idea of social loafing. Also, because I encourage you guys to have roles, i.e. the charter that you set out for the first project, this is a way for me to, again, try to stop or diminish social loafing. De-individuation happens when people lose their sense of self in a group. So they become so absorbed in a crowd that they forget who they are and they just go with the flow. So this can be destructive in some situations. Group polarization happens when you're in the presence of other people and you're discussing a topic. Whatever idea or belief you had prior to the discussion is usually amplified or becomes even more defined after the discussion. So you might think that trying to convince someone against what they thought previously is going to make a big difference, but a lot of times all they do is come up with counter arguments in their head and rationalizations. Groupthink can, in some circumstances, hinder a good decision because everybody's on one accord and it kind of squashes diversity of ideas and opinions. And then despite the whole conversation about the influence of the group and how we are heavily connected to other people, there's this side of every individual that wants to exert their uniqueness. So we want to be different, not too different, but a little bit different. So definitely read over chapter 8. And, if you have questions, feel free to let me know. Like I said, I'm considering talking about this topic a little bit more just because it's one of those chapters that I really feel like you can use this information in other classes. Ways to earn points in week 12. So in week 12, you have another discussion and you can earn up to 10 points. You're going to make your initial post by Wednesday and then respond to 2 more classmates by Friday. Now, I have noticed that several people are giving really wonderful, thoughtful, thought-provoking initial posts and responding to peers in a substantive way. And I applaud you for doing that. I enjoy reading those posts. but some of you are still not grasping what it means to make a substantive post. So a substantive post is one that's complete, correct, clear, concise, and creative. By complete, I mean you thoroughly answer all parts of the question. By correct, I mean you include information from the videos that you watched, or information from an article you read, or from our course textbook. All right. By clear, I mean you proofread and find your errors and fix them. You address your peers by name when you're responding to peers, and you sign all posts with your name. By concise, we mean you don't ramble on. You don't just go on adding a bunch of useless stuff. No, you include examples and details and support, but every sentence has meaning and is worthwhile. All right, so you don't just have fillers and fluff in there. And finally, creative. The more we can see your personality, the more of a joy it is to read your post, and the more it gives your classmates something to go on. So you want to make your initial post by Wednesday, and you'll get up to 6 points for that, and then you'll get 2 points per peer, up to 2 peers, so a total of 10 points. Now I do encourage you to respond to more than 2 peers because you'll get more out of the activity, out of the exercise, but the minimum is 2 peers. Big ticket items. So I wrote big points because I was trying to find a way to catch your attention. You know, we have 600 points in the class, all right? And we're talking 200 points for these 2 assignments. So listen up. Effort is important, but knowing where to make an effort makes all the difference. So this means that you should take time to really prepare for test 2, and you should make sure you do a really good job on group project 2, because those 200 points could be the difference between an A and a C, between a C and an F. All right, so on test 2, I'm going to go over that on the next slide or the slide after that, but you get 100 points. So like I said, you want to start preparing now. It'll be open for a week. You have to complete it by the 11th, and it is proctored via HonorLock, and we'll go over some details coming up. Now with group project 2, I've mentioned this before, but I noticed only a few people have identified who they're going to be working with. Now, even though the project is not due until the 30th, April 30th, you really need to find your group right now, and you need to find what topic you're interested in, like now, so that you can start researching your topic and start putting it together, so that you'll have enough time to, research the topic and put together something that's worth sharing with your classmates. I don't know about you, but I was really impressed with what I saw for group project 1. And those were with assigned topics and assigned members. With this one, you have more control, more autonomy. You get to pick who you work with, and you get to pick what topic is of interest to you. And you might be wondering, what kind of topics are appropriate for this second group project? Well, you can take a topic that we barely grazed the surface on, and you can go into more depth. Or you could pick a topic that we didn't touch on at all. All right, but whatever you choose, it has to be related to social psychology. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please use the group project thread to post your concerns or questions there. And also, you can even comment to your fellow class members to cheer them on. All right, thank you.
Let's get it together, people. Test 2 will be here before you know it. So I'm planning to make test 2 available as of the 5th of April, and then it will close on the 11th of April. It will be worth 100 points. There will also be an extra credit assignment that will be worth up to 10 points. And just like test 1, test 2 will be administered via HonorLock. So what that means is you want to take the HonorLock practice quiz to make sure your computer is, functioning. You do need a camera, you do need a microphone. It's not open book, but you are allowed to have 1 page of notes, 2-sided. And the chapters are going to be chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. So basically test 1 was part 1, test 2 is part 2. So this is all about social influence. I'll do a practice Kahoot or a challenge Kahoot for the class prior to test 1, prior to test 2. And I'll also do a poll to see if we have students who are interested in doing a Zoom. I didn't host a second Zoom so far because the first Zoom was, we only had 1 student attend, so it seems like you guys do better with watching the videos. But I will post a thread to see if we have enough students who are interested in holding a Zoom. Maybe we'll do that before test 2. If you think you're going to fail this class, you might consider withdrawing instead. The last day to withdraw with the W is April 2nd. And our exam week is April 30th to May 6th. The last day of our class is May 3rd. So, the grade book is pretty up to date, and I would say you need to take an honest appraisal of where you stand and the likelihood that you're going to pass the class. And if you think there's a chance that you're going to fail, or that you're not going to be able to put forth the effort required to pass, then you probably want to consider withdrawing.
Emotional and social intelligence. So how high is your EQ, also called EI? And this is a topic that I wanted to address because it's relevant for our class, it's relevant for your professional life, it's relevant for your other classes, and it's actually relevant for your personal lives. So emotional intelligence is about self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. And what we have here on the slide is know thyself, be mindful of your environment, be resilient and manage stress, and then develop skills. So this is one model. When I'm talking about emotional intelligence, I usually use a version from Daniel Goleman that was put forth quite a while ago, and he talks about 4 steps. He says the first step in any given situation is to acknowledge and be aware of what emotions you are experiencing at that present moment. All right. The second step is to be able to control those emotions, to have, some power over it. All right. The third step is to acknowledge and be aware of what emotions another person or other people are experiencing. And the final 4th step is to influence these other people, right? To change their emotions or have an effect on their emotions. All right. So to illustrate this, I want to tell you about a story. This is an old story. A while ago, I was hanging out with my oldest son, and we came out of a restaurant, and we're in my car driving, getting ready to go home or wherever. Now, I just want to warn you that we came out of this restaurant, and I had a cup of hot coffee, or semi-hot, lukewarm coffee, in the cup in the driver's, in the dash there. But anyway, we get in the car, we're driving, and we are getting ready to exit the parking lot, and lo and behold, a lady and her child, who looked like the child was a teenager, were crossing. Now, when they were crossing, this was kind of an area where you leave out in the car, but when you're crossing over to get on the road, there's also a sidewalk. So I stopped short when I realized that these pedestrians are walking by, and obviously I didn't want to hit them. When I stopped short, I didn't get close to hitting them, but it was like, whoo, it was a little close, but not close enough to be getting mad. The lady got really mad, okay? And she started going crazy, started cussing at me, yelling, giving all these, obscenities at me, and she was just going crazy. Initially, I was going to just try to let it roll off, just chill out, okay? But this lady started making it personal, insulting me. And here I am with my son, and it just started getting to me. And my blood started boiling. My heart started beating fast, and I started getting angry, started getting mad. And in my mind, I was thinking, I'm about to take this coffee, take my earrings out, and I'm about to douse her and let her. But then my son looked at me and touched my arm. And in that moment, I was aware of my emotions. I became very aware of my emotions. And so once I became aware of my emotions, I acknowledged that, hey, I'm feeling anger. And so I thought about it for a few moments, and I was able to control my emotions by taking a few deep breaths and thinking logically that this lady felt threatened. The situation is not out of control. It's not too late for me to intervene. All right. So I was aware of what emotions I was experiencing, and I controlled them. That's step 1. Step 2. Step 3 was acknowledging what emotions she was feeling and kind of being empathic, being in the moment with her. She's still going crazy over there, acting all wild. And then my son says, "It's not worth it, Mom." So I thought about it some more, and I allowed my intellect to override the emotions, and I was able to take a few more deep breaths and put the car in park and wait for her to pass by. And so I was able to dissolve the situation. Now, this could have went drastically different had I not been aware of my emotions, had I just allowed myself to react in that moment and get out and beat her, or put the car in drive, well, it was already in drive, just give the gas a little pedal, right? Who knows? All I'm saying is that with emotional intelligence, it's a matter of controlling your emotions, and it's a matter of influencing other people. Now, the reason why this is important is because, as you can see on the slide, there's times when you're going to have to work as a part of a team. There's other times when you're going to be put in a leadership position, right? So being able to have empathy and being able to control your emotions and being able to influence other people is beneficial in virtually every aspect of life. So this goes hand in hand with the discussions of interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. So I'm sharing this information with you now because I'm hoping that you'll use some of these skills as you're working on your group project and as you're dealing with your fellow class members and as you're just walking around life.
That's all, folks.